Alaska Senator Ben Sasse is a Republican on the Intelligence Committee, and you have voiced some frustration and something that we just asked the White House press secretary about, which is what is happening in terms of real-time intelligence sharing with the Ukrainians?
Not enough, not fast enough. The administration will tell you they're sharing intelligence, which is true, but they're not sharing the information that's most needed in the moments when it's most needed. It's not useful to tell somebody that a tank was at a certain spot 10 hours ago. You need to know when you can kill the invading Russians, and these Ukrainians are trying to defend their families from the atrocities that Putin is committing. The administration needs to move faster.
Why would that be?
Obviously, Putin has the largest nuclear arsenal in the world that we're ever going to face, and he's willing to provoke and constantly say it would be an escalatory step for us to share targeting information. We should be sharing targeting information.
Can you've been in some of these hearings, right, that we have not been. Can you characterize the degree to which Putin is willing to go? Is this Chechnya? Is this a country that's going to be leveled in time?
I think his intent is to target civilian populations to try to demoralize them. He knows that supply lines are hard. They're hard for him. His army has demonstrated an inability to manage the complexities of war that he thought they had mastered. But it's definitely hard for the Ukrainians. They're outgunned, they're outmanned, and right now resupply can only come from one direction because Putin is invaded from the other three. So he thinks he can demoralize people by bombing civilian populations.
It must, I mean, in a way, I have to say it must be a little bit demoralizing to hear here in the West, like, we're comfortable, we're here, and then you have somebody like Senator Marco Rubio, and I don't disagree with him when he said that maybe even if he succeeds militarily, he will ultimately not be successful because the people are going to hate him. But if you are hiding in a shelter, and you hear that, I mean, that has to be quite demoralizing for people there.
Yeah, I mean, the Ukrainians, let's just step back and recognize that the boys of Snake Island and their expletives, which will get bleeped out on your network, to the Russian warship, those people have created a new motto for the Ukrainian resistance. Right. And the resistance is filled with a whole bunch of grandmas willing to be trained on how to use AK-47s and are hosting Molotov cocktail parties. But they need better munitions while we still have an army that we can partner with over there.
There's been a lot of psychoanalysis over the past couple of days about Vladimir Putin and what's in his head. Perhaps it's legitimate, perhaps it's premature. What people wake up to this morning in America are the images on the screen. And this is a country that's getting wiped out before our eyes.
Yeah, I mean, so the first thing to say about Vladimir Putin, before you get into debates about how much he's losing his mind with his COVID isolation and whatnot, the first thing to say is that he's evil. He has a lot of will and he has a lot of weapons, but he's an evil man, and he's targeted civilian populations for years, and he's gotten away with it. I mean, you go back to 2004, he first poisoned a political opponent. 2008, he invades Georgia, no real consequences. 2014, he steals Crimea. He downs a civilian airliner, no consequences. He meddles in U.S. elections, no consequences. He pulses bombing into Syria, into civilian populations, not just because he's trying to help the evil Bashar al-Assad, but also because he wanted to pulse refugee waves into Europe to destabilize political timelines there. And this guy has not known consequences. And so now we're having these debates about whether he's a war criminal or not. He's been a war criminal for a hell of a long time.
Yeah, based on those consequences, the president's argument and Jen Psaki's argument last hour with us seems to be this stuff will work. Just give it some time, whether it's taking down the ruble or taking down the Russian economy. This is all going to pay off. They're not sure if it's a week or a month from now. Do you subscribe to that logic?
No. So first of all, I've been pushing the administration for months, not just the last 6 days, but for months that we needed pre-invasion sanctions. We should have done a lot to their financial sector before this happened, but I appreciate many of the steps the administration has taken the last 6 days, bringing along Europe. Let's be clear, Zelensky is the hero in all this. The reason that Germans have changed on sanctions is because of Zelensky and the courage that he demonstrated when he said, I need ammo, not a ride, and when you realize people were going to fight. But I do applaud parts of the ramping up of financial sanctions from the administration, but saying things like give it time, that's not enough. Right now we have an army that we can partner with, and if the army falls, as is certainly statistically the bet that people would make, then you're going to have to be helping fund and arm an insurgency, and that's going to be a lot harder. You're not going to be able to provide the same kind of real-time targeting information then that we can do now. The administration needs to do more and faster.
And it seems in some ways, though, as President Biden gets ready to give a State of the Union address tonight, that instead of talking about what he has decided to do it's almost as if they're unwilling to talk about that, because I understand there are complications and it's a tough call. But how does he continue to help rally this nation when we've just been showing you the numbers? 33% approval on handling of this Russia invasion in the latest polls that just came out.
Yeah, I mean, we need the president to be the commander-in-chief tonight and to stand up and applaud Zelensky and not just say we stand with you with words, but we stand with you with munitions. The Poles, the Romanians, we have a lot of NATO allies who are out in front of us in certain ways, and we need to get back on the front to make it clear. We're not going to put boots on the ground, but we need to make it clear the 44 million Ukrainians have demonstrated a will to fight. We've got to demonstrate a will to arm them.
What would be his best message tonight in the House chamber, State of the Union?
Well, he needs to begin by talking about the fact that this is a nation that believes in freedom. And when we believe the Declaration of Independence speaks to universal human dignity, to universal human rights, to the fact that everybody's created in the image of God, we got a bunch of Ukrainians fighting. Those boys at Snake Island that we mentioned earlier that told the Russian warship where it could go, they defined a motto that Americans understand in our soul. We may not know Snake Island geographically, but we get the spirit of Snake Island. Vladimir Putin doesn't understand Snake Island. He doesn't understand people who have the courage to lay down their life for freedom because they care about their future. Vladimir Putin, for 30 years, now 20 years as ruler, has spent all of his time trying to drive people back into the pre-1989, pre-1991 world. Vladimir Putin is the guy who doesn't understand the dignity of humans, and Joe Biden needs to speak for freedom-loving peoples in this country and everywhere.
He has done that before, so we'll see about it tonight. Thank you, Senator. Good to see you.
Nice to see you. Ben Sasse. You too.